There's a story of a middle-aged man who goes on a Caribbean cruise, and he meets up with this very attractive lady, never met her before, and just kind of walks by and smiles, and she smiles nicely back, and that's it. But it's on his mind all day. And then they get to supper hour, and she's sitting by herself at the table. So he walks over and introduces himself, sits down. They have some small talk. They chit-chat for a while, and then very quickly, boldly, he says, I really appreciated your smile today. That was very nice, very well received. And she says, well, when I saw you, you reminded me striking resemblance of my third husband. And he says, well, how many times have you been married? And she very boldly says, just twice. Obviously, there's a presumption that, you're going to be my third husband, right? Anyway, maybe it's a bad joke. But the point is, when we come across people for the first time, there's often many different reactions. We can fall in love at first sight, right? We can have this deep connection. We can just strike up a friendship just like that because we're friends. We have similar interests. We have similar goals. And it just naturally happens right away. There's times where we have to kind of get people to grow on us after a while, right? We kind of have to get to know them first and then really begin to appreciate the intricacies and quirks maybe of their nature. And there's other people just by showing up in our life we don't like. You took my job. You took the spot on my team, right? I don't like how you talk. I don't like what you wear. And all of a sudden we just write them off. And we have many different reactions on people coming into our life for the first time. And even in the coming of the Messiah, the coming of Jesus, man, you've got Mary, right, who's worshiping. You've got Magi traveling for miles. You've got shepherds praising, angels singing, lots of great reaction. But as we looked on Sunday, there's also the not so positive reaction, which is a Herod who comes after Jesus, right? And we looked at his life. It's always been that way for Herod. He has always been threatened. If he looks at you and he thinks that you're after his throne, he will kill you and wipe you out. Killed his wife, killed his mother-in-law, killed his sons, killed a whole bunch of prominent Jewish people because he just thought, if you look at me the wrong way, if I think you're coming after this throne, doesn't matter who you are, I'm going to take you out. And so a baby born, king of the Jews, Bethlehem, what are you talking about? Orders all the kids, right? All boys under 2, that's it. Put them to death because he wants to eliminate a threat. And we see that it's sin in his heart that's been allowed to fester and weigh on his heart throughout his life that causes him to have these overreacting moments. Sin in his heart comes out to sin in his actions, and it's causing him to do things that are absolutely awful and brutal. And we see in the life of Herod, as we talked about on Sunday, just the reality that sin in our hearts even, and when it's allowed to weigh down, it's allowed to fester and not be dealt with, when sin weighs our hearts, it will come out in our actions. We may not be aware of it all the time. We may justify it. Well, because this happened, I have to react this way. We may deceive ourselves. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody really knows. It's not going to affect people. But when push comes to shove, we really do honestly know that when sin is allowed to sit there and not get properly dealt with, sin in our heart will come out into sin in our actions. And that's the amazing thing about Christmas. We celebrate the dark reality of what sin does, but the amazing good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ coming, because he came to set us free from that. The Bible is so clear that as I embrace Jesus Christ, I am embracing a new nature. I can literally walk away from that old life, that old nature, and embrace the new heart, the new life, the new redemption that Jesus Christ offers to us who believe and follow him. And so as we come to Christmas, I'm not sure what's weighing on your hearts. I'm not sure what's coming out in your personality, what's coming out in your actions, but I know for myself. I see some of the things that I do, and it's not necessarily that issue. It's the sin in my heart. It's the self-centeredness, the selfishness, that old nature that is being allowed to rule and to weigh on my heart, and that's the problem. And so I pray this Christmas we would see that really the sin in our heart that's not dealt with will come out in our actions. And so this is yet another reason to embrace Jesus Christ for the forgiveness and redemption and newness that he comes to offer us. And if that sounds like church-ese, if it sounds like Christian talk, then maybe that's the time we need to do coffee. Because this is not just stuff we talk about. This is the reality of Christ in our hearts. The new nature he comes to set us free from the bondage of sin weighing and affecting our life. I just pray you'd know that. If so, let's celebrate that as we approach the coming and celebrating of Jesus Christ. And if it's foreign to you, then talk to somebody, talk to a friend, talk to a staff member, call me up. Let's talk about getting back into the fullness of who Jesus Christ is so you can begin to know and experience what it means to embrace a new nature and not allow sin to rule your heart and come out of your actions. God bless you. Thanks for listening. We'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday.